Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user Throwaway Anaria. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to live with my brother-in-law anymore? My husband, 32 male, and I have been married for 2 years. His dad and stepmom are going through an ugly divorce, so his half-brother, 17 male, has moved in with us to live for a year till he starts college. My husband loves his brother, treats him like a little kid, and is overprotective of him. I find brother-in-law's behavior obnoxious, and we have too many arguments about it. He's been with us for only a month and a half, and I can't stand it. I really don't think I can put up with it for a year. It started with him making messes and throwing away leftovers. Since I do most of the cooking and cleaning, it has only increased my workload. My husband's list of chores, on the other hand, has not increased by his presence, so he was dismissive of my complaints. Since my husband wasn't saying anything, I tried telling him to pick up after himself. Brother-in-law retaliated by spanking my butt. Anytime I tell him to do something, he hits my butt hard and laughs. My husband told him to knock it off, but he keeps doing it, and my husband treats it as if he's just playing around, which is no big deal. Not only is it very disrespectful, but it's also really painful. After that, he started randomly picking me up and carrying me around. I'm a little over 5 feet and 120 pounds, and he's a tall, stocky guy. I hate it, and my husband just thinks he's goofing around and trying to be friends with me. I work from home, and the other day, when it was just him and me in the house, he picked me up, ran with me to the bedroom, and threw me on the bed. It really scared me, but he just laughed at me and left. My husband thinks I'm being dramatic by being scared of this. I feel like his behavior is escalating, but my husband tells me to act like an adult and not blow up over a kid's playfulness. I am anxious every day and I'm seriously thinking of moving out, though it'll be difficult to afford it. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that I don't feel safe in our home? Hold on a minute, OP. So you're telling me this guy who's almost 18, almost an adult, is smacking your butt and your husband does nothing but laugh about this? Then he got confident and started to pick you up, and in the last attempt he threw you on the bed? Come on, that's not childish playfulness or a kid's playfulness. A kid's playfulness is throwing the sippy cup on the floor or something like that, which is also very annoying. But picking you up, running around and throwing you on the bed, that's not playfulness. Your husband needs to start acting like a husband and tell his brother off. His wife should be absolutely off limits for any kind of disrespect, and the way his brother is treating you is absolute disrespect. Who does this kid think he is? Does he think he's got some sort of power over you just because you're married to his brother? OP, I absolutely think you wouldn't be the a-hole if you told your husband that you don't feel safe in your home. And to me, that's also a good enough reason to pack a bag and go stay somewhere else until your brother-in-law gets out of that house. Your husband and your brother-in-law are both being huge a-holes. Your brother-in-law for obvious reasons, and your husband because he's not standing by his wife. He needs to do better. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Few School 3869 says, not the a-hole. It is completely inappropriate that a 17 male is spanking his sister-in-law's ass and throwing you on the bed, and totally effed that your husband isn't standing up for you and finds this behavior okay. Like, I would threaten to leave over this. And OP responds, I told him I am considering moving out and he called me selfish. C Dentist 1726 says, not the a-hole. Put your foot down. No, you are still nearly newlyweds and your marriage is important. Have another sterner talk to your husband about how it's impacting you. Ultimately, it's up to you. But if my husband dismissed my feelings and concerns for someone else who isn't his child, it would raise a red flag for me. 17 years old is not a kid in regards to behavior. This teen is pushing you and laughing that your husband is on his side more than yours. It comes across as juvenile dominance behavior. And Guttimes says, put up cameras everywhere in the house. Threaten nothing that you won't follow through with. I'm talking pepper spray and calling the police. Your bodily autonomy and sense of safety in your own home is paramount, and if your husband wants to support his psychotic brother over his wife, maybe he doesn't need a wife. Honestly though, this is completely insane, and I think little bro needs to find somewhere else to go as soon as possible, not in a year. Additional information from OP's comments. I am scared to threaten by calling the authorities. My husband will lose his mind if I threaten his baby brother with the police, not to mention how his family will react. I don't understand why he can't see how disturbing his behavior is. And like many of you said, it is sexual harassment, isn't it? When I used the term sexual harassment, my husband made me feel like a drama queen. He told me I should be ashamed of myself for thinking like that about a minor. A lot of his obnoxiousness happened in front of my husband, and he didn't see it as something wrong. OP's edit to add. Thank you so much for your comments and for validating me. My husband had me confused and believing that I was overreacting. I am so relieved to hear from so many people that this is as dangerous and bad as I feel. I have packed a bag in my car and some important belongings and documents. I am 29 female for those who asked. I forgot to put that in my post. I also called and talked to my mother-in-law early in the morning. She's always been very nice to me, and at my wedding, she told me she thinks of me as her daughter. My mom passed away when I was young, and I don't have any siblings, so that moved me very much. I was nervous about talking to her because I didn't want to ruin that relationship, but she was so shocked when she heard the details. She said she'd talk to my husband and father-in-law, and this was an unacceptable situation, and told me to stay with her till it got resolved. Brother-in-law is out with his friends till tomorrow, so it gives me some time to have one more detailed discussion with my husband. I am also going to show him this Reddit post, and hopefully his mom's talk and these comments will be a wake-up call. Alright, well, the community correctly sounded to OP all of the alarms possible, and OP understood that this is a dangerous situation and is taking measures about it. Now, OP has given us 2 updates, so we'll move on with the first one. But before that, if you're enjoying this video so far, please don't forget to click that like button, write a comment with your opinion in the comment section, and of course, subscribe if you haven't done so yet. So now, let's move on with the first of 2 updates. I am very appreciative of everyone who commented on my last post and encouraged me. I won't be able to respond to all, but I appreciate it. I wasn't able to resolve this issue with my husband, so I moved out. I am trying to come to terms with the fact that this is the end of my marriage. My mother-in-law was on my side and talked to my husband about the situation, but he got more annoyed with me because he saw this as me creating more drama between mother-in-law and father-in-law and causing old grievances to arise. Mother-in-law has been amazing, but she didn't raise brother-in-law. He's father-in-law's son from his second marriage. I showed my husband my original post and the comments, and he accused me of presenting things in a lurid manner to get people on my side. He didn't even read all the discussions, he just got enraged and closed the tab. Mother-in-law also talked to father-in-law, who came down on brother-in-law about his behavior. Father-in-law told brother-in-law to leave our house and move in with him. Brother-in-law refused, saying he wanted to stay with my husband, and my husband came up with the solution that brother-in-law was to stay in his room and I should stay in my bedroom, lock the door, and not get out till he got home from work. This pissed me off more. I had packed a bag and my documents, thinking of leaving anyway. Father-in-law talked to me and said that he doesn't like that my husband and I aren't getting along. What? And brother-in-law will no longer stay with us. But the next day, brother-in-law came into the house with a group of his friends. I simply grabbed my laptop and left. I am so grateful to the people who suggested that I be packed and ready to go. I already had everything in my car and could leave with what I needed immediately. I am staying with my mother-in-law now. She is flabbergasted by my husband telling her that he'll never ask a close family member to leave his house. It is clear that my husband doesn't even like me, much less care about me at all. He hasn't spoken to me since I left. I am trying to figure out what I should do next. I obviously can't stay with my mother-in-law for long, especially since I need to start the divorce process. I could move back in with my dad, but he lives in another state and that'll make things hard. I don't have any savings and I am short on money. The majority of my paycheck goes into half of the mortgage and utilities on our house. We have a combined joint account. I have been foolishly spending a lot on decorating the house instead of saving up, and I suppose all that is gone now. I need to figure out my financial situation so I can support myself. I am on the mortgage. It'll be nice if I can just stop paying it. I made the direct deposit change request at my company's payroll, and they said it takes 2 paychecks for the change to go through. Also, we started trying for kids just a couple of months ago. The room that brother-in-law has taken over, I hand painted and decorated it so it could be set up as a nursery when the time comes. F my life. Well, OP, actually I'd say not F your life. It's a good thing that you guys don't have any kids if it's the end of your marriage. Also, regarding the mortgage and the house, I would say you've got 2 choices there. You can ask your husband to buy you out, or you can sell the house and split the money. In any case, it's time to move on to the final update to see how this story ends. A few of you have been messaging me asking for updates, and for those who still care to know, the update is that my husband and I are getting divorced. We have been separated since I left home at that time. The house has been sold and I got the equity for it. I got some kitchen appliances and some decorations back, but for the most part, I lost the money I spent on furnishings, but that's okay. It could have been worse. After my last post, I had separated my money, hired a lawyer, and handled utilities, so I wouldn't be paying anything. My ex was shocked by my actions. He was waiting to call my bluff and couldn't believe I'd gone so far so quickly. He didn't take my leaving seriously because I was staying at his mom's house. We had more arguments and I started realizing that he would never hear me. He was always so focused on being right and having his way that he could twist reality to fit his needs. Looking back, it was always like that in our relationship, but I was in love and a pushover. We went into marital counseling. I agreed to go because I mostly wanted an acknowledgement from him that what went on was messed up, and also because my mother-in-law really pushed me to try to make it work with him. It was all a crap show because he denied a lot of the egregious things and presented the issues as minor things that I was twisting up. He maintained that brother-in-law was simply goofing around and I was offended because I didn't have siblings and didn't know how they messed around with each other. After a few weeks of counseling, my ex agreed to have brother-in-law move out, but he was acting as if he made this huge sacrifice for me and I didn't believe it. I had already checked out of this relationship and knew I couldn't trust him anymore. Mother-in-law was very disappointed that I still wanted a divorce after her son compromised. I had moved out of my mother-in-law's house after a month of staying with her. I stopped contributing to the mortgage payments and I got my apartment. It was risky, but I decided I'd take that hit to my credit history for my independence. I bet that it mattered more to him and that forced his hand into selling the house. It was sold as soon as it got on the market and that was a huge relief. All my decorating paid off in that way at least. I've stayed in touch with my mother-in-law and heard from her that my ex moved into a small apartment and brother-in-law had moved back with father-in-law. I also heard from some mutual friends that he's been telling everyone that the divorce is happening because I was jealous and controlling and tried to separate him from his family. And I was a nagging harpy to his baby brother. He already has a new girlfriend who's more family-oriented. I am waiting for the final divorce decree to be signed and I hope there are no problems or delays. I know a lot of you wanted me to make a police report about brother-in-law, but I didn't feel safe doing that. I don't have a support system that I can rely on if things go wrong, and I want to walk away from this with minimum harm. A lot of people have scolded me for not hitting back, but at no point did I think I could do that and get away without taking a beating. I suppose I am not a very brave person, but I think I am looking at my chances realistically and doing what I can to keep myself reasonably safe. Okay, OP, maybe I lost something in translation, but when you say you didn't know if you could walk away without taking a beating, was that like physical or metaphorical? Like a beating in the sense that you wouldn't have gotten enough money from the sale of the house or something like that? I don't know. That confused me. But what I do know is that it's good that you've gotten out of there, you're safe, and you're moving on with your life. So on that note, here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Thank you so much for sharing, and please take care and stay safe. And now, let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge, and it's by user Tarzan is my pony. Karen got her due at the grocery store. My 40 male, almost 4-year-old daughter loves grocery shopping with me, especially if we get one of those race car grocery carts. If it's a slow time at the store, I take her to the deli, where there is a wide open space in the corner, and spin a circle with the cart. She loves it. It usually gathers smiles in the rare case someone's nearby. Just a dad having fun with his daughter, right? Well, yesterday, after doing a single spin, we went on our way when an older lady, I'd say early 70s, came towards us, shaking her head and glaring at us. I gave her a perplexed look in response to her scowl, and she muttered something about having absolutely no respect for public spaces. I responded, "Sorry, ma'am, I was just having fun with my child. Sorry to have offended you. Have a nice day." I thought that was that and was happy to move on, but she continued, "Shame on you for teaching your child such poor manners. I taught my children how to behave in public." I responded, "Clearly that's a lesson you didn't bother to learn yourself. I wonder how they turned out." She then muttered something about them being perfect. My almost 4-year-old is extremely perceptive and sensitive, and asked if she had done something wrong. I then explained as loud as I could, "Absolutely not, honey. That's just a very grumpy old bully." She angrily responded, "I am not grumpy. I just want to be left alone." And I say with a stern face, "No? Well, you certainly are a bully then, and if you want to be left alone, I strongly suggest you start minding your own effing business. Did you teach your children to behave in stores? I'm teaching mine to stand up to bullies like you. Thank you for this perfect teaching moment." She finally caught the hint to shut her trap and moved along, still muttering and shaking her head. Petty revenge commences. Twice more we encountered her in the other aisles, and I made sure to overdo the race car theme, but would abruptly stop when we got near her, saying loudly to my daughter, "Careful now, honey, we don't want to anger the fun police," and my daughter played along perfectly. As fate would have it, we were approaching the checkout at nearly the same time. We got there first, but I magnanimously allowed her in front of us to be first in line at the solitary men's checkout, knowing she would complain, and she did not disappoint. She immediately started to explain to the till person that she was harassed by me and my daughter this whole time, and how we were disrupting the whole store. The till lady cautiously looked over at me, and I just gave a totally confused shrug. I'm still in my formal work clothes, suit and tie, and my daughter is wearing her adorable puffy fairy skirt, picture perfect innocence. Having obviously seen me let the lady in front of us in line, the till person gave me an apologetic smile and just nodded and smiled, humoring Karen. She must have tried complaining further at customer services because we were now leaving at the same time despite our full grocery cart and a child insisting on helping with the bagging. Once outside, I made sure to drag race that cart past her as loud and as obnoxiously as I could, and my daughter squealed in delight. I didn't even bother looking back at that crusty old shrew. She ruined my shopping outing, and I hope I ruined her entire day. I do feel bad for people who are this desperately miserable, but I also have zero patience for them taking it out on other people who are just trying to enjoy a sliver of joy in their day. I think if enough of us consistently confront people like this, they might just learn to keep their mouths shut and their poor attitudes to themselves. Well, OP, it is a petty revenge from your view because, yeah, that was petty. And from the old lady's view, sure, it was harassment and disruption or whatever else you'd like to call it. But the important one here is your daughter's point of view. I'm sure for her, it was a fun day with dad, and that's priceless. Maybe the old lady had a grumpy dad, and that's why she just can't relate. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.